Hey guys, hope everybody's doing okay today. A little cloudy, overcast here in northern Georgia. We're going to get through it though. Everything's fine. We're going to do a little video on pruning, stringing, clipping, lowering and leaning, and show you how I do all these things and the reasons why I do them, and the reasons why a lot of greenhouses do these a certain way. And so I hope you enjoy it, and let's get on with it. Okay guys, we're going to start off here. Here I am pruning off pretty much all the lower branches below the tomato cluster. Now these branches aren't serving really any purpose to the plant other than taking nutrients away from it, and that would be better, in using and growing the fruit, which that's the reason we grow tomatoes anyway. We were just trying to grow leaves, we'd do something else, grow trees or something like that. But whenever you do this, you want to make sure that you don't want to go off higher than the cluster. And the reason being because the photosynthesis involved with feeding the sugars, water, nutrients, on the vine ripening, all the good things that make a great tasting tomato, they'll be gone. So, the cluster is no longer being cared for by the plant. In other words, it's just ignoring it. So, keep that in mind. This is, like I say, some of this stuff I'm going to talk about is probably going to be a little bit controversial, but, I'm just telling you my opinions and the way, in my experience, the way I've experienced things happening during my years of growing. When you take away the leaves right there, it's kind of almost like picking a green tomato and let it sit on your counter until it turns red. And we all know those don't have near as much taste as they do leaving them on the vine. People say, as long as once they blush, I've just not found that to be true. Not in my experience anyway. But I've actually witnessed tomato ripening above a lower cluster that should have been ripened first. That's kind of what you're faced with, is what I've noticed, by pruning off too many branches. So just keep that in mind. Like I say, feel free to try this yourself, and I can guarantee you the same thing's going to happen to you. So sometimes we don't have a choice in the matter. You get leaf mold, blight, other diseases that we got to get them under control. So sometimes you have no choice but to go ahead and cut them branches off. But whenever possible, leave a couple of branches around the cluster, so that cluster can keep on feeding, that plant can keep on feeding that cluster of tomatoes. Okay guys, single stem sucker pruning, and the reason we sucker tomato plants is to be able to grow them in a single stem. So all your clusters are coming off of the main stem, instead of coming off from here and there in little scrawny little branches, here and there. In a greenhouse environment, it saves space as well as being able to, control how your plant grows. And some people will tell you that you're just wasting plant, and that could be producing fruit. I don't know. I personally disagree with that theory, since I grow them both ways. I can't say that I've seen any greater production by doing it either way. Either leaving the suckers on or taking them off. I have seen smaller tomatoes, but as far as the amount of tomatoes, I can't really, say that. Leaving the suckers on is going to be any benefit to you, unless you're growing them outside. And like outside, I don't have the luxury of being able to lower and lean them like I do in here. And plus, if you see my previous video on the tomato vine measurement, I've never grew any outside that were 22 feet long either. So that just goes to show you, if you don't sucker them outside, they're going to just bush out instead of growing up tall. Probably about the tallest I've ever had outside, probably been, maybe around 10 feet or something other like that, which, that's a little less than half of what, what they do in the greenhouse by growing them single stem. So I just do the math. I'm just, like I said, I'm just showing you the way I do it, and I'm not trying to tell you my way's the best or the only way, but you be the judge. Y'all try it for yourself, like right here, we have a typical tomato sucker growing out between the main stem and the leaf branch. That's where you're always going to find these things, but you need to carefully assess them before you cut them off. Here's an example of Mainstem Termination. You can see right here that the main stem ends with a spitted out tomato cluster, and to the right it was a large sucker. That could have been easily cut off if you ain't paying attention. And and say if I had cut that off and didn't notice that there was no further growth out on that main stem right there, could have been a chance that the plant may not have grown any further. Although that's rare, that don't always happen. Sometime in a point in time, you're gonna have another leaf branch try to come out of the stem. But at any rate, it's going to slow your production down while you're waiting for the plant to catch back up. So, you know, that's why it's best to wait the sucker to, you know, let the sucker grow a little bit, and then you can look at it and assess, you know, see what's going on, you know, to know, you know, make it easier to determine how you need to prune it. Okay, proper way to clip a tomato string, or a proper way to clip a tomato to the string. Here I'm clipping this plant to the string. I always clip the plant right up under the leaf branch, because that's where the weight of your plant's going to be resting down on that leaf branch. So, you know, and never clip one around a cluster. You don't want to you certainly don't want your tomato cluster supporting your plant. And just remember that, you know, tomato plants get very heavy, you know, indeterminates, more especially. I mean, you know, of course, if you're growing determinates, you know, you're not going to be doing all this suckering and pruning and stuff anyway. But we're working with indeterminates right now, so they get very heavy. And always make sure that whatever you got your string attached to at the top, you know, be it whether you tie it off, whether you use roller hooks like I do, or whatever you do to attach them to the top. Make sure that your structure can handle the weight. You know, I've seen too many needless catastrophes in other YouTube videos where it could have easily been avoided simply just by making sure the support was adequate. Take the time to do it right, you know, and you'll avoid heartaches later on. You know, growing's supposed to be enjoyable, not a pain in the butt, you know. All right, we're going to move on to lowering and leaning now, guys. You know, when you're growing single stem tomatoes, you know, sometimes, you know, at some point in time, it's going to come a time when you're going to have to drop them down in order to keep growing upright, you know, because your ceiling's only so high. And we do this by called the lower and lean method. And as you see, I've set up my rows of Dutch buckets to begin at one end of the greenhouse and stopping about halfway. This way I've got room on the right hand side here, the way I'm pointing the camera, from the right hand side, I got room to start lowering and leaning from the first plant. You take your first plant to the right and drop it down, slide the hook to the right about the same amount as you dropped it, and then you just move on down to the next plant, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the end, and just do it equally all the way down. All I do is I just get up on a little ladder here, just push the release lever, and make sure you're holding that string securely. Hold the plant side of it, because you don't want that thing to all of a sudden just go, because once you release that roller hook, it's going to take off, you know. So you want to make sure that you've got control of the plant, so you can just ease it down real slow, and then just lift the hook up off the cable, slide it to the right, and then you know, over time, you know, the vines are going to wind up on the floor, or, you know, unless you want to put some kind of support method or something other up higher to let the vines rest inside of, or something like that. But I've never had no issues with the vines being on the floor. So you know, just keep that in mind. Very easy to do. I mean, people are kind of scared at first to do something like that, but you know, once you do it, you know, you'll see, oh, this is really easy. You know, you just got to do it. Just take your time, do it carefully, and everything will be great. Bloom pollination. Many different ways to pollinate tomatoes. You know, you've always seen my fan blowing up there. That's usually sufficient. If it's blowing on all the tomato plants and everything, you can tap the cluster stem. You can shake the plant. I use all these methods, you know, along with a battery-operated toothbrush. I mean, I come in about every 2 or 3 days and just, you know, hit the blooms. Just take the battery-operated toothbrush and just go right behind the bloom. Don't actually put the thing on the bloom itself, just put it behind the bloom, and you'll see it vibrate. Once you see it vibrating, a lot of times you can see the pollen poof out of the flower itself, which is pretty cool to see. You don't always see it, but you know, most of the time you will if everything's good and dry inside the greenhouse. But that's another thing. Make sure, you know, that try to do it when the humidity is as low as possible. You know, late morning, early afternoon. After the greenhouse temperatures done got up, and you know, the fans have been running and got the humidity out of there, and that way the pollen will be dry and not gooey, and it'll release in powder form, and that's all there is to it. Okay, guys, that's going to about wrap it up. Try to make this short and sweet, but as informative as possible. Like I say, some of this stuff may be controversial, you know, and everything. Everybody's, you know, you ask 15 different people, you're going to get 15 different opinions. All I'm just showing you is how I do it and what my opinions are and what I have experienced in the past over the years growing these things. And you know, I hope it helps. And if y'all guys have any questions or any comments or anything like that, just leave them in the comment box, and we'll discuss it. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. But in the meanwhile, hope you enjoyed it, and may God bless you all, and we'll see you next time.